Here at iSports Radio, we have a lot of sponsors here. One sponsor in particular I want to highlight is Legacy Financial. Legacy Financial, based out of Riverside, California, is a lovely husband and wife trying to help you with your financial goals. Start off the new year right. It was get in touch with them and, see what they can do for you. 2020 was a rough year. Let them help you out with 2021 and get you on the right foot. And the right foot meaning, don't be so dependent on the government to help you out. Let them get you in the right path. So just in case another pandemic happens, Legacy Financial will help you out in the long run. So give them a call at 951-732-0130 or 510-928-2104. Like I said, it's not embarrassing to ask for help. So give them a call at Legacy Financial. But now on to the show. Tonight, here on Fast Break, here live on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for that is Always Sports. We finish up with the finale of our division preview series with the Atlantic Division. A division that, could see the Eastern Conference champion come out of it. So we'll dive into all that. Also, we'll talk about all the happenings around the league, all that stuff, and around college basketball as well. And you're welcome to join us. And join us as you shall tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in with us here on Fast Break on IE Sports Radio. Here on the very first show of the new year, January 3rd, 2021. I was kind of setting up late because the Titans won a full round of Texans, but they got the job done against them. Derrick Henry hit 2K. A.J. Brown hit 1,000 yards. Corey Davis didn't quite get there because, he kept on dropping the ball. But other than that, Mr. Locke, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. I actually just flew in. So my Bucks won today, actually. It's one of the reasons why I flew in a little late. I wanted to watch the game. But we won today, 11-5, looking at prepping for next. It's been so long since we can say this, preparing for the playoffs. So that feels good. But I'm feeling good, man. My Magic, they're playing pretty decent as well. Can't be too mad about that. Couple losses we've had, but recently, but we were 4-0. I believe we're 3-0 before that. The first time ever in the franchise history. So things looking good right now in the Florida area for me, my teams. So, but congrats to Derrick Henry. I mean, we talked about it just recently. Hell, he needed 233 yards before this game, man. For him to get that is to me, that's proof that he's the best running back in the NFL right now. I mean, if he can do this for another about 3 or 4 years, he might even be in that category as one of the best ever. But I think that that's a big step to do that. I think the last person y'all had did that was Chris Johnson, correct?
Yeah, that was a long time ago, man.
A long time ago. I believe he had, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 228, 2028, 2028 yards, something like that. But yeah, so congrats, man. That's big. Both teams in the playoffs. So the way things go, man, we might mess around. We meet in the Super Bowl, man. We might have to both be in Tampa for that game.
Both being Tampa and both being on the face off of Larry B.
Oh yeah, yeah. Hey, I ain't gonna lie, dude. We mess around, both get up in there. We might have to have our own podcast for like 2 weeks, like this, talking about that game. So, but yeah, congrats, man. We'll see what happens next week.
Most definitely. And shout out to the chat. Shout out to Terry Rodriguez. His team won today. The Chargers won against the Chiefs today. So, I mean, hopefully, Anthony Lynn keep his job, but we shall see. We shall see on that.
Yeah.
But before we get to our division preview series, ladies and gentlemen, just want to touch around the league a little bit. You mentioned your Orlando Magic, D-Lock. They sitting at 4-2, and we talked about them last week. Not a lot of changes, but you still got the same team around you. And with a quick turnaround, not a lot of off season, to deal with. Training camp was short. One thing they had going for them, in my eyes, and I'm probably showing your eyes, they know who they got. They know what they can do. They're not breaking in a whole bunch of new people. So what's your thoughts on them so far? 4-2, early in the season.
To be honest with you, most fans will be hell over, high over heels. They'll be talking. I have a group chat actually with a couple of guys I work with that are big time Magic fans, and they're just like, "Oh, this team looks great. This is one of the best teams ever." But for me, for one, it's so early. It's 72 games in the season, so for them to start out 4-2 is great. But let's be real. The Wizards have how many wins? One win, right?
Correct.
They have a W. So you're talking about a 1-5 team they beat twice. OKC, they just lost to them, but they beat them before. OKC, we already know, with so many draft picks, only have SGA and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander there. Looks like they're shedding Horford's contract for a draft pick that they got from Philly. The biggest win I think that we really got was against Miami, but Miami did come from just playing literally 2 months ago. So we looked pretty good. My only thing is when we did play against Philly, which is who we'll go over in just a minute in the Atlanta division, we look horrible. So I like the fact that we are winning. You're getting that chemistry, you're getting that positive energy in the locker room, but I want to see that against these better teams, right? I want to see that when we do play the Phillies, the Bostons, the Lakers, all these other teams, the Brooklyn Nets. All of these things are going to be very, very huge. Now, I know this is not my team, but they have looked pretty impressive right now. You tell me what you think. It's the Atlanta Hawks. I really thought that they were going to get blew out against Brooklyn, and they snuck out a dub with them. So they look pretty decent, but if the Magic can get a win like that against a team like that, now that 4-2, that 5-2, whatever the record is, looks a lot better. But the fact that it was the Wizards twice, we already talked about the Bradley Beal and Russ combination, how we think that would work. And then the Miami Heat coming off of literally, this is probably like a preseason for them. The fact that they just played like 2 months ago. I like the fact that we're there, but I still think there's just a little bit more work to be done. I think Evan Fournier had already gotten hurt. And I want to see Mo Bamba play a little bit more as well.
Yeah, I thought they looked pretty solid early this season. That cohesiveness, is really, paying dividends for them. Playing against the, OKC Thunder, who, okay what they have, but a team that's clearly in a rebuild, you should beat teams like that.
Right.
I'm not saying you ain't supposed to struggle or anything like that, but you know what you have, you know what they have. You got to win those games. in my opinion.
That's expected. Yeah, and that's the reason why for me, I've learned to be more of a fan that loves my team no matter what decisions we make, but also look at real expectations. Right? It's the same thing with the Bucks. I mean, we beat the Falcons today, but our defense looked terrible to me. So I like to keep it real all the way through. And I think that, like I said, the Magic looked pretty decent. But again, there's two things. For one, he did beat the Wizards twice, beat the Heat. You beat the rebuilding OKC team, and it's only 6 games. So I think we're good though.
And then Magic looked pretty good. The Hawks have looked pretty decent. If slow, Capella is slowly getting back to the fold of things. So, they play on New Year's Day actually against the Nets, and they blew them out. And we'll talk about the Nets here a little bit. You're talking about the next team that took a hit, especially Dinwiddie going out.
Yeah, I did message you and tell you that. Yep.
And now, now you're kind of dependent on a couple more guys to kind of step up to the plate there for Brooklyn. But, for Atlanta, they look pretty good. Capella against that Nets game was 12 and 11, 6 assists. Seemed like him and John Collins may mesh well, but time will tell, in that respect. But then, they turn around the next game, lose to Cleveland, who's sitting there 4-2 as well. But, they lose Kevin Love to an injury. So we'll see how that affects them down the line. Colin Sexton has been playing great so far early in the season. But, besides Atlanta, Cleveland is that early surprise right now. Like I said, that can change. Indiana, 4-2 as well. And then, we talk about the Wiz. Started 0-5 for the season. They did finally get a dub. They're in a fight right now with Brooklyn. 109-107. Washington up on Brooklyn. Do you think the Washington thing's gonna last with Westbrook and crew?
I still feel like it can, but again, you're looking at a scenario where we still want to know what Bradley Beal wants to do. It kind of similar to the Houston scenario, to where they had James Harden and Russ. I think it can, but the reason why is I think this roster is pretty deep. One person that we haven't seen too much this year so much is Troy Brown. And I think he played pretty well last year. It's going to affect him in his playing time, but this team is pretty solid. And then they're on the East. So remember, they were on the cusp of making the playoffs last year, wasn't it? I think it was them in Brooklyn.
Yeah, they were on the Cubs and then went to the bubble, but Bill didn't play. Wall was still out, so it was like, it's kind of like a wasted spot in a sense.
Yeah, but I definitely think that this team is going to make a move, and we just have to, like I said, we have to see. But they got the pieces, man, to do something better than last year.
Do you think they'll make a culture change before they make a personnel change? Because No, Washington. Scott Brooks. I know you're not a big fan of Scott Brooks.
To be honest, if they do, I think that's on Russ's. I think Russ made that call. I don't think that they make that change unless Russ is hey, you know what? Let's grab somebody else. Maybe Russ and Bradley Beal, but the fact that he did work with Russ for a while, I think that's going to be the difference maker for me. So I don't think they make that change. But it also, like I said, it does depend on what Russ' decision is.
Yeah, I thought this team would probably come out play a little bit better. I said Russ and Bill doing their thing is just like, can these other cats, step up to the plate? Looking at them playing Brooklyn right now. The rookie Avalja, if I pronounced that correctly, only played 16 minutes, 3 points. That ain't helping you. Bertans, he got 12 points off the bench, 3 for 9 for 3-point land. You want a better efficiency for him. Huchamara, 14 points, 2 assists, 1 rebound. You kind of wish he was like a stronger rebounder at times. And then Thomas Bryant, 17-10. So, and then, Bill and Russ, Russ got 9 assists, but, oh man, D-Lock, he's 6 for 21 for shooting, though. I mean, down by 1, but I mean, like, geez Louise. And Bradley Beal's 8 for 21, but he got 25 points. So I was like, ugh. I think for the Wiz to shape up somewhere, some way and another, Russ got to just shoot the ball better, at least 40%, between 40 and 42% from the field. He can't shoot below 30 if this team won't make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, the East is so, because of the East, it makes it to where some things you can get by with, but it just got deeper. The 76ers have been looking pretty good to me. What you think?
Oh yeah, they look pretty good. Doc Rivers got those boys coached up pretty well. We'll talk about them in here in a second, but Doc looking pretty good with this crew. Tobias Harris, last game against Charlotte, played very well. Embiid, 7 for 11, 19 points, 14 rebounds. Ben Simmons had a triple-double in that game. Danny Green, Seth Curry, 6 for 12 from three-point land for both of those guys. That's what you need to see out of them. Then Shake Milton off the bench, 18 points for him. So that type of production right there for them, that's what you need to see throughout the season. And then very points, you throw in Dentarius Ferguson, maybe he give you a good 10 minutes, for energy and stuff like that. I think the thing for Philly, the depth behind some of their stars, especially in that front court. Yeah, they got Dwight Howard, but, see, to me, he's more foul prone than anything compared to he was in the past. But what do you really have behind him, though? Like, I look up down this roster. They got Tony Bradley from North Carolina. How much you can expect for him? You got Vincent Poirier, behind him as well. How much you gonna get out of him?
Yeah.
So, Philly seems like they're real top heavy, and a guy like it with Embiid, who you're kind of scared of, injury wise, make sure you don't have the next big injury. You kind of want to have that depth behind those dudes to, I guess, flesh out their roster better.
Yeah, that team is, you got a couple of shooters. Another person that played hella good to me was Seth Curry. I think he played again. He played, was it yesterday? Played really good. He's even though he's more shot dependent than anything, He's not looking bad at all. So expect. I think we're going to see them make a big move, and might be surprised where I have them at on our Atlantic preview.
Yeah, and then going back to yesterday, Houston without James Harden, they beat the Sacramento Kings. Christian Wood, they're looking like the steal of free agency. 20
He really is.
20 for 20 points, 15 rebounds. Really clean up the glass real well. Against the Kings. John Wall looks very well. He slimmed down. He's like back to his old self. Eric Gordon had 21. But Christian Wood, I mean, we had to just brag about him. He has kind of, took his play from last season and just really transformed, to maybe, if things keep up this way, to a larger payday down the road. And I want to ask you this question before we do our division preview series. The way he's been playing, way Wall's been playing, and then you get for Eric Gordon and everybody else. Does James Harden consider staying, or do you think he still wants out?
I think the more that he plays, the more he's realizing that that's where he wants to be or comfortable with anyway. I mean, winning cures everything. So I just think that I got to see what he's like on it every day and see these interviews.
Yeah, I agree. I think for Harden, he got to look at it like this. I think one thing that kind of messed up the Houston team not having that low post presence, either defensive or scoring wise. You kind of get that in Wood. Yeah, he ain't like the biggest person, for his size, but get him down the court, finishing, in ways being a garbage player, but we can see him step out, hit those mid-range floaters. He can hit the three from every once in an occasion. So, but he's doing so efficiently, that it's like, okay, if James Harden having a bad off night, you got this guy down low to clean up the mess. And the way John Wall gets to the rim, okay, you got to play. He's going for a layup or dunk, or he's going to dump it off to this dude right here that we really can't leave open like that down low for how well he's been playing.
Mm-hmm.
But, going to the Sacramento side real quick, I don't know if you saw this or not, but Marvin Bagley's daddy went on Twitter and requested that his son be traded from the team. Now, for some of y'all don't know, Marvin Bagley was the number 2 pick about 3 years ago. Still has potential in the league, in my eyes. But, things ain't worked out for him, mainly injury-wise. And then you look at that Sacramento roster, you got Richaun Holmes basically playing the same position, kind of doing the same stuff for, Bagley does, but, a lot cheaper and not lower and not so much high expectations. What do you think of, his daddy, saying like that on Twitter?
It's clear that, something like that is something that's been worded to him. So this is not something that he just came out of nowhere and said, hey, well, let me bring this up. This was brought up at some point. So for him to say it, I'm pretty sure his son, Marvin Bagley, came out and said something like that, to where he issued the fact that he didn't want to be, be there anymore.
But in my eyes, you want your son to compete, and we don't know how much value Marvin Bagley has in the market, because, we ain't seen like a long, extensive game tape of him playing.
Mm-hmm.
From his draft class. We've seen what DeAndre Ayton can do. We've seen what Luka has done. Trae Young. We've seen what those guys have done. Colin Sexton. Bagley, what he has produced in the first 3 years hasn't warranted a trade yet. Now, I don't know if it's just like the jinx of, Sacramento take these big men and them not panning out. Maybe another underlying issue is maybe Luke Walton's coaching. I don't know if that's it or not.
Which plays a huge part.
Because, Buddy Hield and him don't seem like they don't get along. And I say this in the past, and especially in the Crooks process, I think Lou Walton is better suited for the college game.
Yeah, that's better for him.
I think, when he, took over Steve Kerr for those 25 games a few years ago, I think maybe he thought, oh my, I think I can stick in this league. What's to say, if you had that success, you want to translate that, but it seemed like, it didn't pan out with the Lakers. For Sacramento right now, just trying to pull up their record real quick. I mean, granted, yeah, they're 3-3 right now, but, you don't want your potential future of the franchise, daddy talking for him, trying to ask for a trade.
Nah, yeah, you ain't. That's the least of what you want right now.
So you're 3-3 right now, 7th. I mean, I know it's early in the season, but you're 7th in the Western Conference. You're ahead of teams like Dallas, Memphis, Minnesota, Golden State, and Denver, who's surprisingly 1-4 right now. But you don't need this type of distraction right now if you're trying to make the playoffs after so many years, like 10 plus years. You don't need this. But I'll give you the last word on that.
Really don't need that, because it's I really think that this is something that you want to stay away from, even though we are talking about a shorter season. But the fact is, the West has got deeper, but I mean, especially if this person is going to be part of your future. You don't want to hear no pieces to where this guy is literally trying to, barrel his way out, have his parents out here saying that. I'm pretty sure they've had conversations after his dad had said that. So for me, that's something that you kind of want to stay away from, because it's a huge distraction. So right now, you get in a position where it's like, okay, well, we'll deal with that later. But how do we how can we? Because this is a question that's going to be asked during the game, in postseason. Not postseason, but this is a question that's asked after games. Like, well, your player feels like this. Like, what do you feel like? Like, this is something you want to stay away from. So it's not good, but I definitely think that for him to be so talented, they got to find a way to get him involved. I think once they do that, maybe that kind of shies away.
So yeah, I agree. So hopefully Daddy Bagley, wasn't mad tweeting and stuff like that, and don't cost his son, a chance in Sacramento. Because like I said, besides the Aaron Fox, who else you got? And if he piece together a nice season and stuff like that, hopefully things go good for him in the long run. But ladies and gentlemen, here on Fast Break, we've been doing a division preview series for the NBA season. With a quick turnaround in the NBA season, me and D-Log thought about, ways to talk about previewing the season with a quick turnaround and stuff like that, from the draft to free agent signings to, training camp. We thought like this is like the best way, to trying to talk about every team, but trying to give, each division their own love. So we'll finish up this series with the Atlantic Division, a division that potentially could have an Eastern Conference champion come out of it. But, time will tell. So, D-Log, I'll let you go first. 5 through 1. Who do you got, sir?
So, right now at the bottom, I have the Knicks. I don't think there's no question who's going to be at the bottom right now. It's like they're still looking for that one player that's going to make that big difference on their team. I don't think he found that person yet. So for me, I definitely have to go with the Knicks. Elfrid Payton's a solid player. He actually was originally drafted by the Magic. Reggie Bullock, up and down. RJ Barrett, he's still coming to his own. And Mitchell Robinson and Julius Randle are the big pieces that can make a big difference for this team. I just think the fact that they're in this division is going to pose a big threat to them moving forward right now. Now, 4 is where it gets tricky. This is where you have to pick a team that basically is going to be a little bit below the others, depending on offseason. Now, I wish we could have done this prior to the season, but obviously what's going on right now is going to affect me picking this now. 4, I have the Toronto Raptors. We just seen this team win a championship a couple years ago. I think the fact that Kawhi is gone is the missing piece, a huge missing piece of this team. They still have Lowry and VanVleet, which are solid pieces. VanVleet just signed that big extension. But Siakam had a hell of a year last year, but it just seems like so far we're not seeing the same thing from him. Also, another piece that is hurting them is 2 pieces, actually, Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka. I think that's the defensive side that they really, really kind of didn't appreciate as much. They didn't think too much about it. I think that connection with those 2 helped the defense big time, and we can see it. None of these is playing pretty solid, but Siakam is just not looking the same. We don't see too much from Aaron Baines right now, and actually Chris Boucher is actually playing better than him at this moment when he gets his minutes. So for me, I have them sitting at 4. They actually are 1-4 right now, which is basically where I have them. I think they'll get together eventually. They're actually having a season in Tampa right now, where they have their home games, which is my city. Shout out to Tampa. But I right now, I don't see them making a huge threat right now. 3. I have the Brooklyn Nets.
Ooh.
Yeah. And the reason why I say this is because if you asked me this before Spencer Dinwiddie gets hurt, then maybe I might move him up to 2. But I have yet to see a big deal with Shamet right now. That's who I'm really trying to see if he makes this huge improvement. I have yet to see anything from him. I really think this team is going to be pretty good for a while. I mean, you got obviously two of one of the better players in the league. I just feel as if I got to see their chemistry. You know, you have a deep bench with a couple of players, and Jared Allen, Karis LeVert. You know, Torian Prince is playing pretty solid. One person that haven't played that much this year so much is Jeff Green, which I think he can play a huge piece. But I have him at 3 because I got to see the chemistry between the top two players, because these two top players, Kevin Durant and Kyrie, they are going to determine how far this team goes. It seems like one is the leader and everybody else follows. I think the third best player on this team now that Spencer Dinwiddie is hurt is Karis LeVert. And even when Dinwiddie was playing, he was the third best. His energy off the bench is going to be huge. So right now, I if you ask me this midway through the season, then okay, you know what? I can possibly talk about, you know, maybe being higher. But it's just the fact that where they are now and how they're playing compared to other teams, I definitely like them being number 3. Number 2, the Philadelphia 76ers. I remember when the Magic went to the finals, and they had Dwight Howard. They had him with all kind of shooters. They had him with Charles Lewis, Holly Turkoglu, Jameer Nelson. Michael Peters was a hell of a defensive player, and a couple other shooters. This is what this team reminds me of, right? They have Joel Embiid. We talked about it. They have Dwight Howard, and they have Tony Bradley. They need a little bit more depth at the big man position, at the power forward position. But what they did was they surrounded him with shooters. They went and got Danny Green, Seth Curry. You know, you already got the defense with Tobias, Ben Simmons, and Joel Embiid. Let go of Josh Richardson because you, in a sense, had too much defense and not enough offense. So a little bit of balance, but you also added Danny Green, who can be a hell of a defensive player as well. So for me, I feel like this team can go far. You catch Seth Curry and Danny Green hitting, then this can be like a team that can cause big issues. Tobias is Tobias is not like 26, maybe 25.
Yeah.
But you still have him at a young age with Ben Simmons. You have a nice chemistry. Then you're going to get Doc Rivers. This team so far this year is looking to dominate right now. They're 5-1. They look very, very good. I like what they have in this chemistry. Cork Myers hasn't even got situated as well. So I like this team. I like what they can do, and I like them better than the Knicks, the Raptors, and surprisingly the Nets. I just feel like they have a very, very solid squad they can put together that can go far. And number 1, I mean, this team is pretty deep. We're still waiting on one person for them, and Kemba is the Boston Celtics. We know Tristan Thompson for 2 things, as far as dating one of the Kardashian sisters and also being a big piece with the Cleveland Cavaliers. But I think he's a pretty solid player. You have Jaylen Brown, who is up and coming, and Jaylen Brown is actually Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown is up and coming as well. The big piece that they got with Jeff Teague, I think he's a hell of a defensive player, being the fact that Kemba has been out a lot. And then you have Marcus Smart as well. Peyton Pritchard has been playing pretty good. I'm pretty sure you've been seeing that too.
Mm-hmm.
He's been playing pretty solid. So this team can do a lot moving forward. They have the depth, but they have to continue this. So, yeah, I like the Celtics to win this division.
I agree with you. This division is very tough to, piece together, who's going to come out on top like that. In the chat, Tyrion is saying, the Wizards just beat the Nets. So that's 2 in a row for them. And Brooklyn falls below 500. So I'll talk about Brooklyn here in a sec. And then Terry also got his standings. The Nets number 1, Celtics 2, Raptors 3, Sixers 4, and the Knicks at 5. So that's very interesting right there. You got the Sixers at 4.
Yeah.
All right. I agree with you. The Knicks, number 5. I wasn't crazy about the Tom Thibodeau hiring because, how many chances, the retread thing, that I had a rant on about him and Stan Van Gundy. I just can we find somebody else, But right now, he got these boys playing pretty hard. They 3-3 right now. We'll see how long that lasts. But they're 3-3 right now. They beat the Pacers yesterday. RJ Barrett looking pretty good so far early in the season. Austin Rivers off the bench looking pretty solid. Emmanuel Quickly looks pretty good at times I see him playing the game. Julius Randle.
Yeah.
He's looking pretty good right now. And I don't want to put this on him, but I'm not saying he could do this, but he can almost be like a walking triple-double in a sense. How strong he gets to the rim, rebounding the ball, passing. I was like, wow, this dude's very underrated if he, gets to stay in one place. But I think, as the season wears on, I think they'll lose some games. But I think Tibbs will have them playing hard throughout the season. So, from where they look so early right now, granted, Obi Toppin, he's out with an injury. So, that kind of don't help things right now for them. But I like how Tibbs got these guys playing hard. My question with the Knicks, with the coaching, can these coaches survive more than a couple years to lay a foundation on and build something? And that starts up the top with probably one of the worst owners in professional sports in James Dolan. Not even the NBA, professional sports. He's up there with Daniel Snyder, or whoever the hell the Detroit Lions owner is. Who else I'm thinking about? I forgot the owner in baseball. I would say the Mets' previous owner, but they changed owners here a couple years ago. So, other than that, yeah, Dean Spanos, thank you. So, but the Knicks, looking pretty solid, but I still got them finishing 5th. 4th, if this preview happened before this season started, I'll put the Sixers here because, of all the James Harden rumors, stuff like that, maybe affected them for a little bit. That put them in a little hole, but they'll still make the playoffs. But I got to go to Raptors here.
Yeah, 4, right? Yeah.
You touched on Siakam. Siakam has fouled out a couple of games early in this season. I don't know what it is with them. I think we talked about this in the past. I think, my eyes, I thought he's going to be like a breakout player for the future. But, playing against the Pelicans yesterday, it's like 6 fouls. He fouled out, 10 points, four rebounds, 4 for 10 for shooting. And then you touched on Chris Bocher. I don't know why they won't give him the start at all.
Yeah.
When he plays decent minutes and stuff, he can score and rebound. And then you get in the starting job to Aaron Baines, and you pay him all that money too, which I think was kind of questionable by Masai Ujiri. And on a side note, on Masai Ujiri, he's getting sued, D-Lock, by a cop in Northern California. So you remember when they won the finals in Golden State, right?
Yeah.
When Masai came out the tunnel, a cop hemmed him up. And Masai pushed the cop off. Now, the cop trying to say, Masai is talking to him, all that stuff. But eyewitnesses came out and all that stuff saying, that wasn't what happened. The cop was trying to abuse his power and stuff like that. This cop is trying to sue Masai Ujiri. And this cop is trying to claim that Masai has emotionally affected his job, physically affected his job, and it's just a shove. This dude's been out of work, and I think he makes, what I saw, $260,000 a year or something like that. And he has been to work since that time in the finals a couple years ago. If I find an article, I'll link it to you. But on a side note with that, I think that's an issue that's still going on. That cop been out of work, still getting his paycheck on leave, still getting his money, taxpayer funded, mind you, just for a shove because, he won't play Billy Badass.
Still picking up the check.
He's still getting the check, which I am flabbergasted by. But anyways, sorry to get off topic right there. But yeah, Masai giving Baines that ain't the world's worst deal, but it's just like, Aaron Baines is like 34 years old though. It's like, come on, man.
Mm-hmm.
And you got this dude Bocher here who can score better, do more things for you. Like, come on now. Norman Powell, he's very solid at the bench. You know what you get out of him. Van Fleet has been playing pretty well early in the season. Lowry, he's playing pretty decent as well. And then, you give the big contract extension to OG Anunoby, in which,
I ain't really like it.
I saw that too. I was like, ooh, y'all getting him.
What has he done? What has he really done?
I'm trying to figure that out myself. I was like, he's very solid. He can defend and stuff like that. But I'm like, he's not worth, I'm trying to figure, he got $72 million. I was like, ooh. I was like, okay. I mean, that's like, Cleveland years ago giving Tristan Thompson that big deal. They made $100 million. I was like, he's solid, but he ain't worth, $94 million. 50, I'll top out at 50 for Tristan Thompson, but I'm not giving close to $100 million. Oh, no. Unless, Tristan Thompson, play like Ben Wallace, we'll talk, but But for OG, very solid defender. But if we ain't talking about like best defenders in the league, all that stuff, locking folks down, no, I can't justify that money. And then I got Toronto number 4. I just think it. Only way this changes is Siakam get his mind right, stop the fouling out, stuff like that. If OG, can raise his scoring up a little bit, that'd be great for this team. I think they'd be pretty solid. And then get what you get out of Kyle Lowry, who was on the last year of his deal. So we'll see how things shake out for them. But I got them number 4. Number 3. That's a tough one right here.
I'm telling you, I was thinking about it all last night trying to put it together.
Number 3 is tough. Like you mentioned before, if we went before this season, I'll probably have Boston number 3. But I'm going to go Philly number 3 right here for me. The James Harden thing, I don't know how long that kind of lingers with that. They're 5-1 right now. And if they can keep that up and, keep that noise out the way, I don't see them making a move like that. Not at least for this season. We talk about, the last game against the Hornets. Ben Simmons had a triple-double. I guess, 35 points for Terry Rozier. One of those games that he'll have every once in a while. And they make you mad that you don't pick him up in FanDuel, and you try and pick him up next game. Then he has 10 points from like 6 for 18 shooting. I said, I can't stand you.
Yep. Agree.
But, the starting 5 look pretty good. We talked about the shooting for Green and Curry. Also the depth in the front court, especially by Embiid, is very questionable. I mean, I know you shipped out Al Horford, but it'd been nice, trying to get some backup bigs, space behind them. I'm trying to think, who's a free agent out there who'd be a decent backup big. I don't know if Kyle Quinn is signed anywhere, but, he'd be a good pickup at least. I don't got that free agent list in front of me, but this him top of my head, Taj Gibson. I know he got waived by the Knicks. I think he's still sitting out there.
Yeah.
So, those 2 guys, top of my head, I'm thinking about, you can go after just to fill that void, just to have somebody behind Embiid. Of course, you want to see more shooting out of Ben Simmons. But if you get that shooting production from Green, Curry, Shake Milton, I think, that will offset that a little bit. And Tobias Harris can be consistent and stuff like that throughout the season. I think you don't have to worry about Simmons shooting the ball so much. But, Doc Rivers got these guys playing well. The game before that on New Year's Eve, they beat the Magic pretty handily. Tobias Harris shot pretty well from there in that game, 8 for 15, 3 for 4 for 3-point line. Embiid had 21 and 9. Shake Milton off the bench in that game had 14 points. So you still want to see that consistency from him. But I got them number 3. Just in case those trade rumors still kind of rear its head again and start affecting their play. So,
do you think Do you think that they trade for him at all? At any point of the season?
If Philly throughout the season, if they stay between 1 through 3, I don't see that happening.
Okay.
Anything below that, in all season, maybe they talk. In season, I can't see it. I can't see it. And I don't know if Doc Rivers I don't know if Doc Rivers want to go through that mess of a never star player getting preferential treatment on that stuff. I really don't. And looking at this roster, they still got Mike Scott still in the league, so they got him on the roster.
Yeah.
So, we'll see with Philly. Number 2, I'm going Boston. I want to ask you this.
Really?
Yeah, I want to ask you this. Is this Boston team, along with the coach, are they topped out from where they at?
Are you saying? Do you think they're peaked out? Like they're peaked at their highest?
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, I don't think they're peaked out. I don't think they're peaked out, but I think if they are, it's because of coaching. Let me say that. I didn't really like how they handled Kemba last year. I thought that Kemba would be more involved. It seemed like we had talked about this last year, and even off air sometimes, I believe, it seems like with the Celtics, you never know who the go-to guy is, really. I mean, we can say Jason Tatum sometimes, but, there's nobody literally to where you can say, okay, this is the focal point of this team. Like I said, Jason Tatum does catch fire sometimes, and they just paid him handsomely for it. But he's not doing it every night to me. So I think that has a lot to do with coaching. The fact that they got rid of Gordon Hayward, we thought Gordon Hayward was going to be a big piece. They picked up from Utah, and he got hurt and just disappeared. There's so many different pieces on this team. It's like they're trying to get everybody involved, like it's the NFL. And as we know, the last team that we really seen have a lot of people get involved and won the NBA Finals is the Spurs. So are we saying that Brad Stevens is on the same level as Greg Popovich? I don't think so. At least not right now. I think he has years, maybe decades, where that comes around. So for me, if they are peaked out, I think the reason why is because just the coaching aspect. They have a lot of pieces. But, to make it easier, build your team around Jason Tatum, if he's your guy. And after that, just make sure that, he is – you have other – come on now, you got Kemba on that team. Kemba was a guy in Charlotte. Marcus Smart is a hell of a defensive player. So, for me, I think that he's just so busy trying to get everybody involved that if he continues to play like this, yes, this is the peak of that team, to me. But if he says, okay, well, we know that we're trying to get the ball to our best player on the team, which is clearly Jason Tatum, now everybody else starts to get the role. Like, we literally barely could see Kemba in the game. I disagree with that. It's me. I mean, I think Kemba is a better player than he's been treated since he got to Boston. Maybe that's one reason why Kyrie wanted to leave. But, yeah, I think that if it is a peak, it's because of the fact that, he kind of handles them as if kind of like as an NFL team. I don't think you should do that.
We've seen this team, young as they are, make great strides. With Brad Stevens, even, we saw this in Butler, getting the best out of his players. And, it had great success. almost won, 2 national championships back to back at Butler.
Yeah.
And, I think, before Nate Oates got to Alabama, I did my episode on the Crooks process. It was just like a long shot, but I say, hey, as Brad Stevens, he won't come back to the college game. Because I don't think it's just the coaching. I think, Danny Ainge really hasn't. I don't know if he was scared to gamble the young prospects to kind of get somebody proven in there. But maybe he knew what he had. But it seemed like, I don't know, like, Ainge kind of handicapped this team to a degree. Okay, yeah, you traded for Kyrie. You shipped out Isaiah Thomas and his bad hip for Kyrie. Kyrie didn't pan out, from what we can tell. If they had fans in Boston when the Nets played the Celtics, Kyrie probably been booed out the building. But Ainge saw like, okay, we almost got to the finals. We got Kyrie. He's kind of been a headache with us. So Kyrie leaves. You bring in Kemba Walker, a guy who can score about as well as Kyrie. Just a tad bit older, but it seems like, it hasn't really materialized like we kind of hoped. For this team. It's like, I don't know, something ain't really, it ain't kicking with Walker in the Celtics. I mean, we've seen at times like, especially in the bubble, that Brad Wanamaker was getting more minutes in than Kemba at times. And Wanamaker, he's a very solid player. But I mean, you paying this guy $100 million plus, you gotta let him figure it out. Or figure a way as a coach and Brad Stevens to try and get the best out of him in that situation. I don't think he really got the best out of Kemba Walker in this situation. One question I do have for the Celtics. What is Jaylen Brown's value? Reason I asked this, D-Lock, you mentioned about the contract extension. They gave Tatum $192 million. Against the Grizzlies, Jaylen Brown had 42 points against the Grizz. And that's minus, John Morant not playing. They played the Celtics today. He had 31 points tonight. 13 for 16 for shooting, 5 for 8 from three-point land. Do you see them pay him that much money? Or are you going to try, hey, let me go out free agency, see what I can get?
I mean, to be honest with you, I think he stays. I think they offer him a lot of money. The reason why is because of that Gordon Hayward walk. Jaylen Brown has been playing extremely well. Right now, if you ask me, he's probably his second best. Well, between him and Kemba, it's a tough decision. But you can't go wrong with either. But I think that you pay him. He's playing that good. So, to be honest, you give him his money and, hey, ride with it that way. I mean, the thing about it is he's playing extreme. He's playing so well that they're not even thinking. They're probably rethinking the whole Kemba contract. That's how well he's playing.
But how much will you pay him though? That's my thing. Like you can't throw out 120 million to him.
You don't have the money to.
That's true. But if you're a team out there who's going to have ample in cap room next offseason, like the Spurs, because the DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge on the last year of their deals, you can throw some money at him and see the Celtics not, match the offer.
Yeah.
The Knicks will have some money. You can put him at 3 to go along with RJ Barrett, find a competent point guard, keep Randall in the fold, Mitchell Robinson, have Obi Toppin come off the bench. You got something cooking right there in New York.
But the problem is, who's gonna go to New York? That's the problem. Like, we've seen people say something about the Knicks, and then for some reason they either go to Brooklyn or they decide to go elsewhere.
It's like you bring up the Knicks, like you talking a group of fans or friends, you mention somebody's name, and it's like they just get real quiet and just look around and bucking their eyes, looking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's how the Knicks are in the league. I mean, they'll get some people because, end of the day, money talks. But if they throw enough cash at them, sell them that, hey, you could be that number one option here, potentially, maybe. Come sign with us. So that's the thing, I'm looking at this Celtics season and how they monitor Jaylen Brown and stuff like that. Can they reach the Eastern Conference Finals again? Yeah, there's potential there. But it kind of hinges on Kemba's health. Tristan Thompson, you brought like the Kardashian thing. I seen enough of that show. It's like, hopefully him being, on the East Coast and stuff like that, he won't be distracted as much. I hope not. Like tonight, he had 12. He went 12 for 11. Typical stat line for him. But if you come in and be that cleaner down low, I think that can go a long way for this team. And I should get those extra possessions for A. Brown and Tatum and Kemba when he comes back. I think that'd be great. You look at the bench for them. Teague has played pretty well for his role. So I expect him to continue that. I think that's a low-key good signing for them. And then for like some of the young bucks they got on the team, I think you should expect a little bit more for these guys, especially some of these first-round picks you picked up for the past couple of years. Carson Edwards, get a little more out of him. I'm trying to think, who's the other cat? Grant Williams. Yeah, that's what I think about. Grant Williams gets more out of him. So Celtics number 2 for me, I think, Tatum and Brown will do the most damage for this team. Daniel Thesis, I think I got this name right.
They call it Daniel Tice, yeah.
Daniel Tice, okay. He's pretty, solid for me. This hopefully, he just be consistent and whatnot. I wish, I think for them, they got to be honest down low. And if he can at least average, at least 10 points down low and stuff like that, I think that can go a long way for them in the season. But, to be so dependent on Tatum and Brown, I don't think it'll get them over the hump yet. Which brings me to number 1, the Brooklyn Nets. I think you probably agree with this. I think if we did this preview beforehand, it'd be a slam dunk number 1. But Spencer Dinwiddie goes out with a torn ACL. They're already sitting out Kyrie and Kevin Durant early in the season, which I question. And like, the season just started. Why are you sitting them out? These guys didn't play in the bubble. They have a long extended period of rest. Why are you sending these guys out? I didn't understand that. They look good, the first 2 games of the season, blowing out the Warriors and the Celtics. But seeing here lately, losing to the Grizzlies in overtime, in which, Durant and Irving didn't play in that game, but still, without tight, how tight the season is going to be, how tight this race is going to be in the Eastern Conference, to go along against Milwaukee, Miami, Boston, and Atlanta as a sneaky team right there. You can't really afford to sit out games. And I really kind of question that. Like, these guys already missed ample time already. They've been out with injuries, whatever. They should be playing damn near every game unless, they have an injury. One thing I always admire about LeBron and what he said about last year, unless he's really injured, he's not sitting out no game. I think he said something to the sense about, disappointing fans, stuff like that. But unless I really have to miss a game, I'm not sitting out. Like tonight, LeBron didn't sit out. He had a little ankle issue, but he didn't sit out tonight against the Grizzlies. He could have, but he didn't. But if you want to be a top team, which I think you and I agree they can be, you can't be sitting out games. And especially with Spencer Dinwiddie out now, and that depth has taken a hit that we kind of praised upon with this team. You can't be having these guys sit out. And another thing, with Dinwiddie going out, D-Lock, we know Kyrie Irving isn't the most healthiest player that's still foot in this league. When he plays, hey, great, awesome. One of the best guards in the league. But he really has to play a full season. I think, trying to think top of my head, I don't think he has never played a full season. So if he can stay healthy, awesome. I think they'll be top 3 in the East. If not, I think, this team will be bounced in the second round. Durant looks great. I'm glad he's back healthy on the court. Caris LeVert, like what he brings to the table. Hope he continues that effort. They lost to the Wiz tonight. So we'll see how things go for them. I mean, Kyrie had 30 points, 10 assists. Durant had 28 and 11 rebounds. LeVert, didn't bring much to the table. He just had 6 points, which they ain't going to cut it. Jared Allen had 14-11 off the bench. And then compared to DeAndre Jordan, who had 4 points and 5 rebounds, in which I got to ask you this. Why did they pay DeAndre Jordan all this money?
I don't know what the hell they was thinking when they did that. Because Jared Allen going to have to get paid soon. So either you're going to ship him somewhere else or DeAndre Jordan, you're going to have to ship DeAndre Jordan. But ain't nobody going to take DeAndre Jordan in that contract.
I still never understood that deal in which you got the same type of player in Allen, but younger. About 10 years younger or so. Really. I just never understood that. And that money and resource, that money could have been allocated for somebody else, in my eyes. But you mentioned about, Jeff Green, Taurean Prince, those guys, with Dinwiddie being out, kind of step up that game. Landry Shamet, get him for the Clippers, who would have been a great third guard in that depth chart. But since with Dinwiddie out now, I think you got to expect a little bit more out of him. And we shall see. I didn't like how the fact, a couple years ago, he turned out to be with Team USA, which he said, it's kind of above him. He don't think it was for him, which I think was kind of stupid. But in the case, we'll see what you got, young man. If you think you're better than this group of folks here, then you got to come out and play very well for this team. But I still got Brooklyn. I know they're 3-4. I still got them coming out top. But Stephen A. made a great point about this, D-Lock, about the Lakers last year. Yeah, they didn't get Kawhi Leonard, but if you got AD and LeBron, that should be enough to win you a championship. And with Brooklyn, with Kyrie and Kevin Durant, and Durant back healthy and looking good, it should be enough to win a championship in the NBA. I'm not saying they will, but they have enough right there, even with Dinwiddie gone, to win the NBA championship. But I got them at least going to the Eastern Conference Finals against Milwaukee.
Ooh.
Only reason I say Milwaukee, I think Giannis he's going to come out this year and will that team back to the Eastern Conference Finals. He can't. I think him going out like he did in the bubble, I think was kind of stuck a crawl to him. And knowing how his mentality is, I think he don't want to go out like that again. So I got them against Milwaukee and the Nets in the Eastern Conference Finals. So I don't know what your thoughts on that, but that's who I got in the Eastern Conference Finals.
I mean, that'll be a good matchup. You say you got the Nets and the Milwaukee Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, if I had to pick, I got the Brooklyn Nets. Boy, let me say this before the season goes. I have the same thing. I have the Brooklyn Nets in Milwaukee. And the reason why is because I don't know where the Heat are going to be seated. I think the bodies that they threw at Giannis was a big piece. I think a body that they threw at Giannis that helped the Heat was Jay Crowder. So he's gone. I think that's going to hurt more than help them getting Avery Bradley. So with that being said, I probably would have to go Brooklyn and Milwaukee. Boy, I can't rule out the 76ers either. I mean, the 76ers and Brooklyn meet up in a playoff matchup. I might have to take Philly. I mean, nobody's stopping Embiid. Let's get that clear. Nobody is stopping him. Nobody's stopping Kevin Durant. But that Dinwiddie injury hurt more than I think we expected. Let me say that. It's kind of tough. But I have to see. Right now, if I had to pick, if you told me right now to bet, I probably would have to say Milwaukee and Brooklyn because I can't bet against Kyrie and Kevin Durant.
My only thing with Philly, real quick, my only thing with them will Doc's, will Doc kind of freeze up in the moment where he kind of like make the wrong move coaching wise here or there. I think with Philly the past couple of years, they had Simmons out for the playoff bubble. The year before that, you had Kawhi in the shot in Game 7. So they kind of had some, bad luck here. But my thing is, can Doc find that magic that he had, when he attained Garnett and Ray Allen in the crew, and kind of find that magic, no pun intended, and kind of get these young guys to the promised land? That's my only question. Now, granted, yes, Doc has the experience over, said Steve Nash, coaching this league. But we, as you now know, when Kevin Durant's healthy, he could argue top 3. Kyrie, he top 15, top 20 maybe. So those two guys there, that'll take an inexperienced coach, granted how great his, how great his staff is, still put them over the hump over those other two guys. In my eyes. In my humble opinion, I think, that's how I look at it, if you look at a Brooklyn and 76ers matchup.
That's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is going to be tough. It is going to be tough. It's like, you got these two superstars here. I think one thing that could go for Philly's advantage is Tobias Harris. But then again, you can counter Tobias Harris with Vicarious LeVert on the other side. Now you got those 3 matchups right there. Who else you got? On Brooklyn side, you pay big money to Joe Harris. Like I said, you got Torrey Prince, Jared Allen, and Shamet. Compared to Philly, you got Seth Curry, Danny Green, Shake Milton, and Dwight Howard. Depending on who you love out of that group. I mean, you probably look more to the Brooklyn side because you probably get more out of a Jared Allen compared to a 34-year-old Dwight Howard. But, time will tell. We see how, this season will shake out. Just to recap, you got We both got the Knicks at 5. You got the Raptors at 4. Am I correct?
Yeah.
3, you had Boston, correct?
No. 3, I had. Yeah. Matter of fact, no. I had 3. I had Boston number 1.
Oh, Boston, yeah, my bad. You had Boston number 1. You had Brooklyn number 3, right?
Yeah. No, I had Brooklyn at. Yeah. Yep.
Brooklyn number 3. Philly at number 2. Myself, I had Knicks at 5. Raptors at 4. Philly 3. Boston 2. Brooklyn 1. So we'll see how our predictions play out, ladies and gentlemen, and so forth, and we'll, see how those things shake out. But before we go, ladies and gentlemen, D-Lock, I want to ask you this. Kentucky, gets their, a first win after being on a 6-game skid. Do you see them bouncing back well in the SEC play, or
it's done for? It's done. They looking terrible, bro. I hate to say it. It's over with for them. Over. OB. They're tanking. This is how you know they're tanking. John Calipari just he got ejected last night. It's over with for them. They're going backwards. Now, they ain't going to lose no recruits. Now, that's Kentucky. That's Calipari. But this, go ahead and, leave this year how it is.
And just to recap, a couple scores from yesterday on the men's side. Creighton winning by 2 against Providence. Creighton is 8-2 for this season. Providence fall to 7-4. So Creighton, being a guy that used to live out there, the consistency in the program, even through the coaching change, has to be admired. I mean, you don't see that too much, in college basketball. So, shout out to Creighton. Alabama goes up to Knoxville, knock out Tennessee off the unbeaten mountain. Beat them 71-63. John Petty went 4-for-4 from three-point land. Josh Primo, the freshman guard from Canada, 3-for-5 for three-point land. So they knocked them off of the unbeaten mountain. Then Texas beat down Kansas at home. They beat down Texas in Lawrence 84-59. I mean, Texas played very well in that second half to really pull away from Kansas. So, Shaka Smart, I mean, he got this squad looking very good right now, in my eyes. Missouri, kind of like one of the surprises in college basketball right now, 7-1. Beating Arkansas, who's previously undefeated as well, in which I don't understand why they weren't ranked, but, it is what it is. Arkansas falls to 9-1, but I'd like to see Arkansas in the polls hopefully here soon. Baylor, who had a nice back and forth battle with Iowa State, pulled out for them. They still stay undefeated, 76-65. And then Gonzaga still stay undefeated as well, beating down San Francisco, 85-62. And then today's games, Michigan up double digits against Northwestern in the second half. Minnesota winning against Ohio State. Houston, Kelvin Sampson doing his thing. And, kind of low-key doing his thing in Houston, winning against SMU 74-60. So, the college landscape, you know, you still got your two top teams still undefeated. UC San Diego, Taryn brought it up in the chat. They still undefeated as well. I know Alabama A&M, they're still undefeated as well. So that's 4 teams. I know I missed a few others, but those teams still undefeated in college basketball. And I know we're getting into conference play right now. You know, that jazz. I don't want to ask you this, D-Lock. How do you see conference play playing out? You know, if you had to postpone and stuff, you've done for 2 weeks. And I know the NCAA don't want to miss out no more money from the NCAA tournament. Do you see like these conferences, you know, going all the way and finishing the season on a high note?
Well, it's going to be kind of tough because at the same time, I think the biggest problem is when we're going to start seeing these. Remember we talked about last week as far as the women's team backing out. I don't think they're going to be on the team. Once you start seeing all these other teams start to back out, this is where the issue resides. And this is where all these other problems can come. So understand that this is not it. You know, I do see them trying to figure it out, but we're going to see what conferences is really going to kind of force it to finish. I think that's what we're going to see if they do finish.
Yeah, I mean, we hope, you know, they can finish. We hope. But, you know, yes, the vaccine's rolling out and stuff like that. But then now you got like a new mutated part of the coronavirus out there as well now. So we'll see how that looks as well. Now, also yesterday, I was watching San Diego State and Colorado State. And San Diego State got big on those boys, but then Colorado State cut that 28-point lead down, or 25-point lead, excuse me, down to 1. But, you know, San Diego State, they held on. Well, I'll tell you about it, they ain't held on. They lost by 3 points. I think one thing, you know, I've been watching for college basketball this season, no lead is safe. Some of these teams, schools, like, you know, be up big, have, you know, be at top of these guys. But then, you know, when I was watching that game, I was like, damn. They're getting these open shots. They get up and down the floor, shooting the ball very well. I was like, damn. You know, what's going on here? I think if Steve Fisher was still, you know, heading San Diego State, I don't think that would happen. But I just want to shout out Colorado State, you know, not, you know, being down 25 points and then they shake them and they come back and win by 3. So shout out to them. You know, they came out and did their thing. And unfortunately, you know, San Diego State and UNLV is postponed. So, you know, you're going to miss time from there. So we'll see how things go out for them, for San Diego State and Colorado State. But this has been our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in with us tonight. And thank you for tuning in to our division preview series. We will be back here next week, recapping the world of basketball and NBA, college basketball, men's and women's. And maybe touching some high school stuff. D-Lock, I before we get out of here, you know I live in Alabama. You know I show you clips of recent NBA Alabama signee J.D. Davidson, top guard in the country. Tell me why some of these coaches here in the state, high school coaches, think another player is better than him. Now this kid named Brody Peoples out of Hartsville, Alabama, Simon Liberty. He's averaging about 27 points per game. Nice player. But you can't say that one of the top guards in the nation is not better than this kid. You can't. I had to get on here and say this. I seen these two kids play. You cannot say one is better than the other, and one's going here, one's going there. So I gotta get that out the way. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in with us tonight. D-Lock, how can people find you on social media? Let's see. D-Lock, are you there?
I'm sorry, I was typing it. I was saying something this whole time. I had to show mute letting you talk. So again, you guys can find me at Black-813. I will be doing a lot of tweeting because my Bucks are getting ready for the playoffs. Like Evans did get hurt earlier, so we got to figure out what's going on with him. So again, I will be talking about it then. Also, the Magic coming up, they're playing soon. I'll be talking about that as well. NBA is back and forth in effect, even though we just got done talking about it. So you guys be ready, and we'll be there. Let them know they can find you at, man.
You can find me on Twitter at Spawn4288. That is Spawn4288. Also, please do follow us at Fast Break IESR. That is Fast Break IESR. We do talk about NBA. We do talk about college basketball. You know, we do tweet about high school basketball from time to time. I just got ranting about JD's, this kid JD Davidson here out of Calhoun County in Alabama to compare to this kid in Hartsville, Alabama, Brody Peebles. You got a kid going, top guard in the country going to Alabama, kid going to Liberty. Anyways, going by another rant. But anyways, follow us on there. Do check out the website, catch the recaps of the other shows in our division preview series. And once this one is done and recorded, catch the playback on that. And if we're wrong, y'all can try to clown us later on, but that won't happen. But thank you for tuning in with us, ladies and gentlemen. We'll catch y'all next week. We're out.
Peace.